Trapped Inside My Own Mind by Shaleigh Clarke. Exploring the connection between photography and pre/postnatal depression. Sometimes unwanted thoughts and feelings come into your mind. It often happens to most people unexpectedly. For most people, unwanted thoughts are fleeting and go as quick as they come, but have you ever felt like they just won't leave? Almost like you just can't escape your own mind. When having a baby, these thoughts and feelings can be a part of disorders called prenatal or postnatal depression. Prenatal depression is something that often occurs during pregnancy. Prenatal depression can cause extreme sadness, anxiety and fatigue, which sometimes makes doing your everyday activities extremely hard. Postnatal depression also has very similar symptoms to prenatal depression, but making it slightly different is that many parents experience the symptoms after having the baby. Postnatal depression is a very common problem that affects over 1 in every 10 women within the first year of giving birth. I will consider my journey with both prenatal and postnatal depression, whilst researching other people's stories of how they have dealt with these types of disorders. Photography can be incredibly therapeutic for women suffering with these types of depression. It can improve your well-being by providing self-care, community interaction, and the potential for reminiscence, which is why through my photography I want to show the positives and negatives to being pregnant and those vast changes that come along with it. My aim is to break the stigma and open the minds of those people that think pregnancy and motherhood is and should be a perfect picture, when in reality many women actually find it challenging to adapt to the changes and continue with their day-to-day activities because of how low they sometimes feel. What is prenatal depression? Prenatal depression is a disorder that can occur at any time during pregnancy. It is more common than people think, and some women don't know what signs to look out for and will often blame themselves for the way they are feeling. Anyone can be affected by prenatal depression, but you're more likely to have this condition if you already have a family history of other mental health issues, such as anxiety disorders, panic disorders, or more debilitating disorders such as OCD, which stands for obsessive compulsive disorder, mood changes, or postnatal depression. Susan Hogan wrote a book of how art therapies can help women during many different challenges that are faced when wanting to become a new mother. In her book, she wrote, most of the pregnancies can be seen as normal, but around 12 to 20% of these pregnant women are suffering from mental illness of some kind, which is similar to other parts of the world. Hogan explains how just by looking at a pregnant woman you could never really tell what is going through their mind on a day-to-day basis, and that more women than people think are suffering with some kind of mental illness. Researchers have found that depression is one of the most common issues pregnant people face. During pregnancy, your hormone levels shift, causing your mood to be affected, which can be caused by an imbalance of chemical levels in the brain. During a lot of pregnancies, people feel sad or anxious about their body changing, but also may feel some pregnancy discomforts, which means if you have a higher risk of suffering with depression, these changes can become very overwhelming. What is postnatal depression? Postnatal depression is a disorder that occurs after having a baby. It is more likely to affect you if you have a history of mental health problems, particularly depression, which was displayed earlier in life. Having no close friends or family to support you can be difficult after giving birth. Stressful life events such as bereavement, physical or psychological trauma, such as domestic violence, can often make you more susceptible to developing postnatal depression. Even if you do not suffer from any of these problems, having a baby is a life-changing event that doesn't always work out the way new mothers imagine it to be, and when your hormones are all over, it sometimes can randomly trigger depression for no valid reason. In an article written by Deirdre Ryan, she talks about what postnatal and prenatal depression are, what symptoms to look for and how they can be treated, and the long-term consequences it can have. In the article, she wrote, if depression persists into the postpartum period, it can have long-term consequences for both mother and baby. Mothers might go on to develop chronic mood disorders, and untreated postpartum depression can impair mother-infant attachment. Deirdre Ryan is explaining that if depression is left untreated, it can cause significant problems in the long run for both the mother and child, which is why it is always better to treat the symptoms early to stop the depression progressing. I found that Rachel Papo was one artist that I related to when researching prenatal and postnatal depression and photography. This is because Rachel created a series of images called It's Been Pouring, the dark secret of the first year of motherhood. She made a photo book to show new mothers that it is very common to feel a certain way after having a baby. Susan Hogan explained how art/photography can help women like Papo that are struggling with their mental health. She said taking up art can allow women to express themselves and feel a sense of pride in what they have created. Not everyone is born an artist, but by giving yourselves a short period of time to relax and calm yourself, you can let your creativity run wild and enjoy not knowing what will appear in your work. Hogan explains the 7 different ways art and photography can help your mental health when pregnant or having a child. She's explaining how it can increase social support, improve confidence, give women motivation, improve their mental well-being, decrease their social isolation, meditate their stress, and help with different birth experiences. Rachel Papo not only found mums that had suffered with postnatal depression and shared their stories through photography and text, but also shared her personal story on how she discovered she had postnatal depression and how she coped with it after having her own children. One mum that Papo took the time to speak to was Vicky, who honestly spoke about the traumatic thoughts she was having about harming her own child. She said, "I felt I was a bad person, a bad mama. How can you have these horrendous thoughts about harming your child? How can you not breastfeed properly? I'm getting better now, but some days I'm still like, oh, maybe you shouldn't go meet those mums. If only they really know about some of the thoughts you've had. The minute I'm with them, though, I never have those thoughts. It's really therapy being with other mums." The thoughts and feelings that sometimes pop into your head can be terrifying and very isolating because they make you feel like you're the only person to go through this kind of depression, when it's more common than you think. These unwanted thoughts are worse when you're alone with your own mind. This is why it is very important to find a good support network after having a baby. Each photo that Papo created was unique to the story of the person that she was interviewing. She not only took portraits of the women, but also included their journals and letters they had wrote to show the extent of their depression. Her photos represent a mix of emotions and makes you get an insight of what they really went through and how they felt. Within my work, I will create self-portraits to portray my story. So another artist I have researched is Cindy Sherman. This is because Sherman is a self-portrait photographer that uses unique identity to portray the diversity of human types and stereotypes. Sherman dresses up in different character roles such as the jaded seductress, the unhappy housewife, the jilted lover, and the vulnerable knave, to help women have a voice when having to take part in these job roles. In an interview, Sherman once said, "I'm disgusted with how people get themselves to look beautiful. I'm much more fascinated with the other side." This quote stood out to me because of how having a child makes you feel about your body. A lot of women are disgusted when looking in the mirror, and some pay a lot of money, whether that be on plastic surgery or just multiple brands of oils, creams and moisturisers to make themselves look perfect, when in reality they are perfect just the way they are. Whilst delving into more research, I came across an artist called Imogen Freeland, who photographs different women's experiences on their journey through motherhood. Freeland searched for women who have had all different kinds of pregnancy experiences, whether that be planned, unplanned, IVF, or through sperm donation. She has also photographed women who have endured pregnancy loss, terminations, prenatal and postnatal depression. In an interview, she said, "There is often an unrealistic example of the female body in popular media that makes women feel inadequate when they pursue and can't achieve that impossible standard. Because of this, the postpartum body is often shrouded in shame instead of celebrated, and this brutally discounts the heroism of motherhood." Within this quotation, Freeland makes the point of saying that bodies shouldn't be shamed, they should be celebrated, which is completely true. When going through pregnancy, your body changes, which can make women look at themselves in a very different light. A lot of women get body shamed and often look at other women and envy their bodies, when they should be proud that their body has just created another life and it shouldn't matter what they see when they look in the mirror. How am I portraying postnatal and prenatal depression within my work? Being a mum of two with another baby on the way has come with many challenges that I have had to overcome and still overcoming today. I suffer with postnatal depression with both of my children and currently suffering with prenatal depression in my third pregnancy. The most challenging symptom I've had to overcome was the unwanted thoughts about harming myself. I felt and still sometimes feel completely isolated and like I want to give up when I can't. I must be here and present because I am needed. Some days I wake up and what people see on the outside is not how I am feeling on the inside. I will often look in the mirror and won't like what I see. I get stressed very easily and become very anxious numerous times throughout the day, sometimes for no reason at all. I will be trying to portray loneliness and isolation. My best friend Sophie has just had her first baby. Our main conversations when we are together mainly focus on how life is going with her new baby and how she felt throughout her pregnancy. She often tells me how she now struggles to love her body the way it is now and that she finds motherhood more difficult than she expected. I wanted to include Sophie in my project because she portrays many symptoms of postnatal depression. The photos I want to create of Sophie include her baby and how she is feeling. I'll be doing this to show the seriousness of how postnatal depression can affect you on a day-to-day basis. How has this research influenced my work? The artists and academic sources that I have researched have influenced my work because Rachel Papo understands what it's like to suffer such a terrible disorder and has spoken to many women that have been through what I am going through. She also knows what it's like to photograph such a sensitive topic. Whereas Cindy Sherman created the characters that she believed would help to give women who were suffering a voice. Also, the academic resources, such as the article of depression in pregnancy, gives an insight into what happens when you have prenatal or postnatal depression and how it can affect not only you, but your child in the long term. And the book Susan Hogan created that helps women deal with traumatic events in pregnancy and afterbirth, such as pregnancy loss, IVF, prenatal and postnatal depression. This inspires me to create images to put into a book that could help some women understand the way they feel and why they are feeling like this in the future. Whilst researching this sensitive issue, I have found it interesting but also shocking how seriously women's feelings aren't considered pre- and postnatally. From my own experiences and from others I have spoken with and researched, I understand why women fear being open about their feelings, but equally I have realised that they need to be open with their unwanted feelings. It is quite unreal how many women like me cannot be honest about what they are keeping hidden inside for many different reasons, which is often embarrassment or fear that they are failing as a parent. I do believe with the right support and talking more openly without being judged, there will be more understanding and more guidance, allowing them to get the right help. This would, in turn, make them trust and feel like there is a light at what feels like a very dark tunnel. The images I have created reflect on how I truly feel most days. I wanted to show all the emotions I go through, whether that be when I feel invisible, happy, stressed, or upset. I want people to look at my images and connect with them. During my time researching other people's stories and how professionals have interacted with these types of depression, I've realised that I now have a better understanding of how to cope with my own feelings and help other people dealing with this disorder. I hope when people see my work, they take the time to understand that not every mother has the perfect life, and what they see on the outside is sometimes just a facade. Within the exhibition, I will be exhibiting my photos as large A3 style photographs on the wall. I will have an artist statement next to my work to be able to explain to people who view it what my project is about. The next steps for this project hopefully include making a photo book that will help women to understand they're not alone within this dark time they are going through. I want to hopefully speak to more women and be able to share their stories through photography too.